You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from Rock Solid Studios in Granite Falls, it's time for MinneZona Sports, live with DJ Matty C. and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Oh, it feels good to be back for episode 48. We've got a lot to get to. Today. So without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callen, a.k.a. Callen, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Woods and Shores Studios in Aiken, Minnesota, Paul Vold, the Shield. What's going on, Shield?
It is Wednesday night. It feels like it should be Friday already just because of the fact the last couple of weeks we've been running on short weeks. The world is falling apart. It's 2021, but it might as well be 2020 season number 2 because of all the craziness that has already happened. But we're going to try and take a little break from all the craziness that's happened in the last few hours to talk about some sports.
Exactly, and we're very well aware of what's going on, but we're here to give you guys an escape because there's a lot to talk about, especially within the state of Minnesota, because we have an undefeated team in hockey for college, and the Vikings wrapped up their season, so I think that's going to be what we're going to be talking about for Tater Tot Hot Take. But we got a lot more because we got table topics. We got some really good table topics, by the way. Voldy knows what I'm talking about here because, I mean, it's going to be good. And then ARA, of course, Shield Shoutouts. We got so many great things happening tonight. So let's get it going with some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it's time for some Tater Tot Hot Take. We're starting off things because there is an undefeated team in Minnesota, and that be the Minnesota men's hockey. The Golden Gophers are 10-0. Voldy, I know this is a subject where there's only one Minnesota team that you're not a fan of. And this is probably the team here with the Golden Gophers. But we got to talk about it because, they started off 8-0. They come back since they got their second part of their schedule. I got to say, I'm liking what I'm seeing from them. But, Voldy, we were talking a little bit before the show. They haven't really played that many great teams. But it's still a great feat to be 10-0, isn't it?
I mean, it certainly is.
Yeah.
I would say that any team at this point of the year that is undefeated, I mean, they got to be a pretty good team. Yes, besides the fact that it's only been 10 games, and they played 8 games in the first half of the year, and they played Arizona State earlier this week. Their first games in literally almost a month that they played, and they still came out with a couple of wins. 10-0, it's really nice to see, especially for a program that's been trying to identify itself the last couple of seasons. But now they're starting to get players to come back, start to get a little bit more experience. A few guys were out this past weekend playing in the World Junior Championships. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But, I mean, just looking up at the makeup overall of how the Gophers got to 10-0, obviously they played their first 4 games at home. That certainly helps at Mariucci Arena. A sweep over Penn State, Ohio State, then going on the road to sweep Michigan and Michigan State. But the thing that kind of makes it interesting, out of all those teams, they just completely just handled their business, never trailed in either of those games. But where they saw the most trouble, Arizona State, who just recently moved up to the official D1 ranks within the last couple of years, and they struggled. And not only the fact that up until the first 9 games, which included a win on Sunday against Arizona State, the Gophers had not trailed at all, but they struggled a little bit. They hit a few bumps in the road, had to grind out a win against Arizona State on Monday, 6-4. But again, that could be attributed to a few other factors, including some guys being gone. Arizona State was more hungry than that. But I mean, if you look at it, I just come at the standpoint of like, at this point now, going to be taking on Wisconsin this coming weekend. I don't think the 9-0 team is going to be, 10-0 team, I should say, is going to be sticking around for very long. There are a few chinks in the armor that are the Golden Gophers and their undefeated record.
Yeah, and I watched the game yesterday, and, I kind of have the same thoughts as you on, they didn't play their best hockey, but they were down 3-2, and but they were only down 3-2 for a little bit because all of a sudden they had a knife to tie things up, and they've played some really good hockey as of late, and you're supposed to beat those teams. It's not like you can go into these games and think, well, they're not very good, which means we're not good. No, you're good. If you're starting out 10-0, that is very good. It's remarkable. But again, I don't think this can continue is what I'm saying. At some point, they're going to lose a game. Right. Like most teams do. And that's how it is. But you got to like what you have been seeing from this team. I mean, there's a lot of young guys on this team right now, Voldy, and they've played pretty doggone well, for one. Especially, with goaltending, LaFontaine, and, they've got stellar defensemen, Robbie Stucker, and, Blake McLaughlin had a good game yesterday. So this team is very good. You had them play, some of them were playing for the USA, and rightfully so. But the future looks bright for this team, this 10-0 Golden Gopher squad. Now, they got Wisconsin coming up, so you got to look at, it's a rivalry game. Against Wisconsin, absolutely 100%. So they're 5-5 right now. Okay, but Wisconsin's going to come in to give you your first loss. Now, Voldy, I got to ask you this. Yeah, let's go. Like Willard Tell is saying right now, let's go. But the Wolves haven't been playing very well, Will, but, we can talk about that at a different time. But, Voldy, do you think this weekend against the Badgers, will the Gophers suffer their first loss?
I think if it does come down to that, it's going to be because the guys that are coming back for the Gophers probably are a little bit tired, and they probably celebrated a little too hard after winning World Junior Championship. If they do go down, I would say yes. I think they do. But I think it's going to be one of those 2-1, 3-2 kind of games where it's going to take one bounce, and there goes the win for them. It'd be interesting to see if LaFontaine or if they go with Jared Moe, who had a nice win, for his first start of the season, and also added an assist against Arizona State. But I'm going to say yes, they do lose this weekend.
Ooh, now are you saying that out of spite, or are you saying that from a logical? No, I'm just kidding.
It's a combination of both.
Okay,
more spite than anything.
Okay,
I got a feeling.
Yeah, you gotta feel. Yeah, I mean, this is a Minnesota show, so you got to say feeling. Either way, but I wouldn't be surprised. And again, I'm not saying that they're going to, because you know what? I'm going to say no, they're not going to. I think they're going to beat Wisconsin. So they're going to be 12-0. But I think after this, now let me go through the schedule real quick before that. Okay, Notre Dame, they've had some good teams in the past. I think they're doing okay this year. But then after that, you have Arizona State again for 2 games. And then you have Ohio State. And really, Ohio State in hockey, yikes. But I think there's going to be some of these games where they're going to slip up in a game, okay? It's going to happen. And there's so many games in the hockey season. So guys are going to get tired. Guys might get hurt. And you got to see what happens towards the end of the season. But just know that, hey, watch out at the end of the season for the Golden Gophers. So we'll see. But one last thing before we move on to our next topic. Voldy, do you think, now I know this is kind of a little far-fetched, do you think that this Golden Gopher squad, or do you think the UND hockey team could beat the Gophers right now?
Easily. Without question. Wouldn't even be a contest. Wouldn't even be fair. It'd take, obviously the whole team for it, but I mean, for UND, they still got Jordan Kawaguchi. I mean, the man is unstoppable. He got robbed of the Hobie Baker last year, decided to come back because vengeance will be his name this year, and I think the Gophers would have the floor wiped with them against UND. It wouldn't even be pretty.
Wow. I mean, I don't think your uncle would like. I don't think Ethan would like that. But
it is what it is.
It is what it is. A little friendly rivalry never hurt no one. So there's that.
I will say this though: the Gophers in Wisconsin here. I mean, with Wisconsin being 2-6 against common opponents between Minnesota and themselves. I mean, getting swept by Arizona State, getting swept by Michigan. When obviously the Gophers have swept everybody that they've played. Not going to be pretty, so it might be a little tough, but maybe this is the series that the Wisconsin bounces back into the win column. We'll see.
It very well could be. But this one I have an issue with right here. Edina could beat the U of M.
Cake eaters.
I can't even with you Mets. Even mentioning Edina just makes me want to throw up. Anyway,
That's the problem with you Metro boys. You take everything too personal. Us outsiders are just like, we just want to play.
Yeah, there you go. You're not wrong on that. All right, so Voldy, we got to move on to the purple and gold. The Minnesota Vikings end the season off on a good note. They get the win. Finish the season 7-9. Kirky had a fantastic game, and then also I believe Kirk was doing some gritty going on. So hey,
that was awesome.
It wasn't that awesome. Oh, it was so much. Yeah, we were waiting for it, and in the last game of the season, Kirk does it. Oh,
might as well. Last game.
Bravo.
Screw it.
Bravo.
Just
Kirky.
do it.
But let's talk about a very controversial call in that game. Okay, because what we're going to do here, Zoners, is we are going to come back to the future of the Vikings and ARA. Okay, so we're just going to stick with the game here, but please throw out your opinions and things like that. There was a bad roughing the passer call against the Lions, and really, it shouldn't surprise anybody because it's the Lions, and it happens to the Lions a lot, so you feel bad at the same time. But the Vikings they had the ball on 4th and goal, and again, the play calling wasn't the best, but I got to give Kubiak some credit because he did a really good job with the offense. But again, last game of the season, Kirk gets sacked, flag gets thrown, and originally the announcers Robert Smith and the play-by-play guy were saying, "Oh, there might have been a face mask. Oh, he probably came down and ripped his face mask." Right? Wrong. That's not what happened. Kirk gets driven to the ground, and I think what the rule is with. It was almost like that Clay Matthews rule where he kind of pushed his weight down onto the quarterback. Yeah, something like that. And Voldy, you and I were talking about this before the show here. And honestly, we didn't even think it was a penalty. And no one else did too. But again, what's happened. And the Vikings scored. They took advantage of it. But it's not like you can sit there and say, well, the Lions got screwed over. Yeah, they got screwed over. Well, move on. Last game of the season. You're not playing for anything anyway besides a draft pick. So, that's my thoughts on it. But, Voldy, please elaborate on yours here.
Look at the initial play. I thought it was a good, clean play.
Yeah.
Guy made a nice play after getting flagged initially, and Tracy Walker made a really nice play on it. And it just so happens that the ref made a call. I'm more perturbed by the fact how every Vikings fan, except for myself, was just completely appalled by the fact that there was a flag thrown and the penalty. It's the last game of the season. Would you rather be 6-10 or 7-9? 7-9 looks a lot better than double-digit losses. Shut up and take the penalty, get the touchdown, ice the game. It's that easy. And the fact that everybody was yes, I'll agree, horrendous call. It was horrible. 4th and goal from the half-yard line, and, well, the Vikings blew it on that play, but get a gift for a fresh set of downs, and then it took 2 more plays for the touchdown to even get scored anyway. I know I was sweating about it as well, but I mean, just the fact that everybody was just completely appalled by it, I'm offended by that. Just like, what's going on? Do you want them to win or not? We want to win the honest way. I don't care.
Yeah.
I just want to win. Cheat to win to cheat if you have to. That's the right way to do it. I mean, you got to do everything you can to get a win nowadays. But the fact that the referee threw the flag on the play as well, did he drive his body? I want to say no. It was like one of those barrel roll situations where maybe he was just trying to get over on top of him. And, you know, obviously the way it looked initially, I mean, those referees have to make a judgment call right then and there if he was driven to the ground or not. And, well, unfortunately, it's not reviewable. You can't take it back. You just got to live with it. But I'm just happy for the fact that they got another chance and put the game away.
Yeah, I just looked at the play right now. And the whole putting your full body weight onto the quarterback, driving with your shoulder. And here, I mean, we got it here in slow motion. I'm looking at it right now. And again, I mean, he barely even, I mean, it's just his shoulder that's going into, you know, getting Kirk there. But that, again, I look at this from this perspective, and I'm going to get to the zoners here because we had some questions thrown in. But that call was bad, yes. But we can't just sit here and complain about it because, well, that should have, helped the Lions out. And, well, there's still 11 minutes in the game, right? There's still 11 minutes in the game. I mean, the defense Vikings defense played, I mean, there's a lot of bad defense, that's for sure.
Right.
And we'll address that later for ARA. But it didn't decide fully what happened during the game. I mean, the Vikings were going up and down the field. The offense, I should say. The Vikings were going up and down the field on the Detroit Lions. So it didn't really matter, but they made that one stop, which is, great. I mean, they did, but then again, they didn't because the Vikings went in and they scored, and that was it. Okay? So I there's a lot of Lions fans that are pissed about this and everything like that, but again, when you're the Lions, you really don't. When you're going against Lions, you really don't care what happens to that team because it's the Lions. We understand.
Right.
So. But anyway, there's another thing I want to mention before we move on. Well, actually, no. Let's get to our zoner. I'm sorry. Trevor Bowles asks, should the Vikings bring back Everson Griffin? Will Dan Bailey stay, or will the Vikings replace him? He says the Vikes, but you get the gist. Voldy, I'll start off with this one. If they want to bring Everson back, and again, I love Everson. I really do. He didn't have the best season because, he goes to Dallas. He doesn't do too much. He goes to Detroit. I think he had a couple good games. But if you're going to bring him back, you don't want to – you want to find a good middle ground. And probably a one-year deal type of situation.
Exactly.
Okay? And if you do that, the thing is here's something that I was thinking about. It's almost kind of like a B-Rob situation, right? Because – I think you could have him as the starter, but you got to. Zim said they need more pass rushers, so that's another thing to think about too. And Dan Bailey's gone. I'm sorry. I think a lot of that, what happened, in Detroit too. His confidence is just shot, and I think it's time to move on because it's just we've seen the decline, and we know all too well with Minnesota place kickers that things start to go south, and when you see the signs, you want to make sure you take care of it right away. So, but Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, if we do bring back Everson Griffin, it's going to be one of those player-coach situations where he's going to get the one-year deal, and he's basically going to just be there to help guide this young defensive unit because of the fact that you've got DJ Wanham coming back, and hopefully James Lynch as well. We don't know the full extent of Danielle Hunter's setback and how long that's going to put him out for this upcoming season. Fenio Denebo got roughed up towards the end of the year as well. I mean, it's going to I think the Vikings, hopefully they do bring him back for that 1-year deal, so that way he can close out his career, contribute, and, hopefully mend some bridges if Zimmer is able to stick around and hopefully, kind of foster that relationship that got kind of roughed up a little bit at the end of his tenure. As for Dan Bailey, I'm in agreement as well. I think it's time to go. Obviously, refreshing a new kicker every couple of years is not exactly how NFL franchise should act and or have to, but as soon as the Vikings let go Blair Walsh, we dug ourselves a deep hole that we're going to be living with for quite some time. So unfortunately, that's just kind of the point that we're at. And, well, I think if Dan Bailey can't get it done, obviously he even missed a couple of kicks in the Detroit game that only led to that 2-point win. And if he can't get it done, I don't know who else really can. So might as well just start open up the Rolodex of NFL kickers that are available each year and just start bringing them in one by one.
Exactly. So that's kind of, I think everyone would all be in agreement with that right now too. So another thing. There's a wide receiver. I mean, he's actually pretty good. He's pretty good. His name's Justin Jefferson. He had a great game as well against Detroit, and he surpassed Anquan Bolden's 2003 record, catching a 14-yard pass with Kirk Cousins in the third quarter of Minnesota's 37-35 victory, and with over 1,400 yards. 1,473 yards. Justin Jefferson is showing why he's the real deal. All right, both Rudolph and Bailey have a couple years left on their contracts, but they won't be back. I believe Bailey's was a 1-year deal, but Rudy, I think that, Conklin's been playing well, Irv's been playing well, so Mets, I think Bailey's was a 1 year.
Interesting to see if they try to trade Rudolph, maybe get a couple of picks or something out of him, but we'll see.
We'll talk about that more in ARA, but, we love Rudy, and if they find a way to keep him, then that's fine with me. But, Justin Jefferson, if he doesn't, I'm going to say this right now, if he doesn't win Offensive Rookie of the Year, it will be a travesty. I respect what Justin Herbert has done for the Chargers, okay? But I believe that Justin Jefferson needs to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. And will I be kind of wrong up? I'll be kind of PO'd about it a little bit, but in all actuality, Justin Herbert's a good quarterback too. But if I were to pick somebody, it's JJ, man. And the thing is we really haven't had, a first-round receiver make that big of an impact since Moss, right? Because, Troy Williamson, Laquan Treadwell, just not very good in the first round.
Percy Harvin contributed a little bit.
Right. And then Percy Harvin. Yeah, I should say Percy, too. So, Voldy, your thoughts on Justin Jefferson's fantastic season?
This is what they wanted Laquan Treadwell to be.
Well, right.
Right off the bat. You draft him in the first round. You put him in a position to be successful, and lo and behold, besides the first game of the year, he was. Now, could we rewind it about 4 years when Laquan Treadwell was still on the team and have that where we are right now instead of Justin Jefferson? Well, you can't go back, and you can only live with the mistakes you made and the right decisions that were made. And putting Justin Jefferson outside instead of the slot like everybody said that he was out of college, best decision the Vikings have made so far in his young career. And the fact that he's put up these numbers in a year where he was expected to be that guy.
Right.
Obviously Adam Thielen was going to be the number one, but who was going to be that 1B if Adam Thielen was 1A? And, everybody thought with Stephon Diggs gone, it was going to have to be Jefferson. And lo and behold, besides those two guys, the whole rest of the receiving core, well, they didn't see a whole lot of action. We didn't see a whole lot of a guy by the name of Tajay Sharp they let go a few weeks ago. B.C. Johnson's been an afterthought after he was a pretty big part of the season as well last year. K.J. Osborne, it can't catch a football, can't field a punt or a kickoff to save his life. But, other than those two guys, those two receivers right there, they made they made games possible. It was live or die off those two for a while. But, obviously a start to a fantastic career. The records are nice, but I'm sure a few more wins would have, Jefferson feeling really good about the start of his career.
Yeah, and honestly, if the Vikings did make the playoffs, I think there'd be no question he'd win Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. But yeah, that's like you said. That's what the Vikings wanted Treadwell to be. But there must have been something. Like they probably saw whatever in practice that he just was not that guy at all. He just was. I don't know. I don't know if they were forced to take him because they needed a wide receiver, but I don't know. But with Jefferson, I think this is a great sign for them, and having Adam Thielen next to him is just even more fantastic because, I mean, these guys are a great tandem, and the thing is when you traded Diggs, it actually worked out for both teams. So it really is something to behold, and let's see what happens with Jefferson in the future here. So Jefferson has that it factor. Lucas is saying right here, he does. And I knew when we drafted him that this was a big one. This was a big get because everyone thought the Eagles were going to take him when we were watching the draft. But there you go. All right, what are your thoughts on officiating during the Bucs and Vikings game? Well, that was a while ago. Yeah, Well, there's bad calls, but at the same time, the Vikings didn't do enough to win, Trev.
There's one call I know everybody's thinking about it's the pass interference in the end zone before the half.
Oh,
Look,
yeah.
I will say, Troy Dye never made a play on the ball. He went up and he face guarded Rob Gronkowski. That is textbook pass interference, and I'm sick and tired of everybody complaining about it. You don't make a play on the ball. You cover the guy, but you don't make a play on the ball. That's pass interference. It happened in the end zone. Put it on the 1 yard line, get the field goal, go to the locker room. That's how it was. They keep saying that Tom Brady got all the calls. Well, when you start making the plays, calls are going to happen. And, Vikings laid an egg in that one. That's the one call everybody remembers from that game. And, inexperienced linebacker makes mistakes, and lo and behold, came back to hurt him.
Well, in all honesty, too, it really didn't matter. They didn't play. They didn't play well, and that's just how we got to look at it. So, but anyway, we got to move on because we got to get to. We're going to come back to this somewhat later. But it's time for some table topics. We've got 3 really good ones. You guys are going to like this. I told Voldy there's some really cool facts on here. So let's get it rolling with some table topics.
The tables have been set. It's time for MinneZona's Table Topics.
All right, it's time for some table topics. Voldy, I keep saying it, we have some good ones, but it's true. We just do. But what about the shot to BB? Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about with that one, but I don't even remember that one. But
it's too long ago.
It was too long ago for me. But anyway, let's get to some table topics, because why the heck not? All right, our first table topic for tonight, for the Zoners, for Voldy, for myself here. Okay, Voldy and Zoners, did you ever suffer a sporting injury? And I assume everyone watching this right now, and then we'll be watching later, is going to say yes. So, Voldy, hit us with your... I'd probably just give us your top 2 or something like that. So, whatever you got, hit us.
I mean, more times than not, I wasn't very athletic or got to play long enough for me to actually hurt myself. But I'm sure everybody's thinking about the one time, or at least the people that know the story, about how I sprained my ankle playing badminton in gym class. That's pretty much the big one that comes to mind when it comes to, hurting myself athletically. Look, I was just trying to be an athlete. I'm trying to get a good sweat on and burn some calories in gym class. And, playing badminton, my shoe caught the gym floor a little too hard and end up cracking a few things, and just ended up being rolling my ankle and having to go to math class with a ice bag taped to my ankle. And that was quite the story for the next few hours of the day. But that's kind of the big thing, me hurting myself physically. playing a little amateur ball as well. Sometimes you don't really stretch all that much or think that you should. And, well, sometimes you end up pulling something. I know a couple of times might have pulled my groin and or hip a few times. But other than that, to the extent of actually hurting myself game-wise, no, there hasn't really been too many gruesome injuries, I would say.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, because really, mine were kind of very minor. I wasn't out. I mean, I maybe was out for a practice or something like that. But when I played football back in the day, I was it was freshman year football, and I was blocked. I got something of a hangnail. I thought my frickin' fingernail almost came off. Someone either stepped on it or I just got. It got, you know what? Now I remember. It got caught up in the helmet of the guy I was blocking. So when I I got in, it hurt like a you know what too, and I was bleeding. I'm just like, gosh darn. And you know what? I toughed it out though. I played through the pain, and I taped that son of a gun up, and then we're good after that. So that was one. Another one that comes to mind, and this isn't actually me, but actually it's Papa Callahan. When Papa Callahan played football in, long time ago, his knee pretty much got destroyed. And he's got to tell me the exact what the diagnosis was, a broken leg or whatever it was. But that definitely scarred him for a while there, and that one was brutal. From what I heard, from what he told me, he's in the ambulance. Grandpa Callahan was in there with him and whatnot. But yeah, that one was a major injury. But there's so many. I mean, there's so many stories with people, having gruesome injuries and things like that. Concussions. I might have had a couple concussions playing football, but. There's a lot to be talked about with these. So I'm sure, a lot of people have some stories. Here's some. Lucas says, in 6th grade b-ball game, my buddy of mine on my team lost 2 of his teeth in a player's arm. Oh, my goodness. We were looking on the floor for them, and the dude had them in his arm. In his arm. Oh,
COVID.
My gosh. Yeah, no kidding.
Get a tetanus shot.
Yeah, a tetanus shot. Hopefully, I'm sure he did. But
Vikes.
I know that Mike. I know our Vikings expert Mikey has some stories as well. He's had some injuries playing football and whatnot. But there's SMSU intramural basketball. I remember the Coom Daddy.
Oh God.
He was running. He was going for the ball was going out of bounds, and he tried to put it back in. And I thought he tore his ACL. The guy came down right on his knee. Coom came right down on his. Oh, he looked in. I mean, I was almost crying because Coom just completely nailed his knee, and he was down for a good. Then all of a sudden he gets back up and he's walking. I don't know how he does it. It's just the Coom Daddy. I don't know, man. But
that's why you got 2 ACLs.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But anyway, let's get to our fact here. That shouldn't be claps. I'm sorry. It should be the triangle. Ding. There you go. But anyway, among children ages 14 and under, the top 5 sports associated with head injuries include number 5, skateboards/scooters. I believe that. 4, basketball. I could, yeah.
Okay.
3, baseball and softball, so combined. Number 2, football. Okay.
Shocking.
Can you guess number 1? You probably won't.
If I had to guess, head injuries and concussions, probably be hockey.
Nope.
No.
Cycling. So this is, the source is the National Center for Sports Safety on this stable topic. And this is what it says, zoners, okay? This is exactly what it says right here.
Interesting.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? But cycling, I think
cycling.
I think it gets really competitive. I mean, obviously we all know that Lance Armstrong was a cheater and whatnot, but I mean, they get into big clumps when they're doing their tours and things like that. And then if someone goes down, and then even with the helmets too, I mean, it can get dangerous.
Yeah, that stuff's gruesome. Yeah, they get
Yeah, so
they get caught up in the peloton. Boy, it is dog eat dog in there.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, so the next one. This one's a little bit more happier. So let's get to something that's going to be interesting. And I think a lot of the zoners will like this one because this one is something that Voldy has actually mentioned a couple times. What sports story would you like to see made into a movie? Voldy, what do you got?
The one that I keep coming to each and every time we start talking about stuff like this, the Antonio Brown story. The last year and a half, 2 years, it's just been ripe with controversy. I mean, it's probably more 30 for 30 note worth at this point right now, but I'm sure here in a couple of years, he's on a redemption arc right now. He's in the second half of a crazy last couple of years. I think he'll be quite the turnaround to see if maybe the Buccaneers do something here in the playoffs with him being now a steady contributor for the Tampa Bay Bucks. But that's obviously the big one that comes to mind in my head right away is obviously the Antonio Brown story here. I think it's just going to be too good here in about, I mean, even if they do a 30 for 30 like 5-10 years from now, it'll be something.
Yeah, and I agree. I think they will at some point. It'd probably be like a ESPN 30 for 30, something like that. But I want to get to this one for the injuries thing. Intern guy, our former intern guy, he took a 9-iron to the head, right above his eye, blood gushing out,
Ouchie.
ruining his shirt.
He had to throw in the shirt part.
Yeah, it's just, oh man.
Let's not worry about the eye
or
possibly, a cracked skull. Ruined my shirt, man.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Alex Smith from almost losing his life to division winner. That is a story. That's a really good one. That's a great one.
Has to be.
It has to be, exactly. So, but anyway, for my movie idea, I feel like we should kind of go more towards like a documentary type setting, but the Jimmy Butler Timberwolves dilemma, I think needs to have some. That story needs to be told, because I need to know to make sure that I know, and then everyone else, so that we can look at that situation and say, what the hell went wrong? And that whole ordeal was just so bizarre, and why Jimmy Butler just lost his marbles and, had the practice thing and things like that. You know who would make... I know this guy's a little bit older, but, if I were to cast somebody for, like, if we were somehow make a movie out of this, I think Jamie Foxx would be a good Jimmy Butler. I think Jamie Foxx would do a really good Jimmy Butler. So I'm thinking about that. That not
interesting.
Be bad. So we got to think of some castings with Kat and no, D-Lo wasn't there at the time. Like I think D Rose was there. Yeah, D Rose at the time, and Wiggins. So again, there's a lot you can do with that one. So I think that would be interesting. More of a documentary, but I think that one would be something to look at too. Maybe the 2009 NFC Championship game and see if there was a conspiracy going on with that, but we won't elaborate on that. We won't elaborate on that. So those are the two that come to my mind. Zoners, what do you think? What sports story would you like to see make into a movie/documentary? Give us your thoughts.
Allegedly, Deflategate.
Now that's...
Allegedly.
Now that is another interesting one. Okay, that one I think would be interesting as well. There's so many you can think. There's so many, but I can't think of them right now because it's just there's too many good ones. So let's look at our fact here. Best baseball movies. Voldy, you ready for this one?
Let me hear it.
All right. Number 5, Sugar. Okay?
Never heard of it.
Me either. Number 4, The Bad News Bears. Yeah.
Okay. The OG. Yep, that's up there.
Number 3, The Life and Times of Hank Greenberg.
Okay.
Okay.
Never heard of it.
Me either. Number 2, Moneyball with Brad Pitt,
yeah.
Jonah Hill.
Yeah, that's a good movie. Yeah, I'll give it to him.
Number 1, Bull Durham.
Okay.
That one,
all right, I can live with it.
Yeah,
I can live with Bull Durham being in the top 5, Moneyball being in the top 5. Lots of contenders not there.
Rookie of the Year with Angels in the Outfield. There's a whole slew of them. With Dennis Quaid, that one, the Disney one, was really good.
Yeah, The Rookie.
The Rookie. Yeah, The Rookie. I get those two. The Rookie of the Year with the Cubs. We
already talked about Bull Durham. You can talk about For the Love of the Game. You can talk about Babe. You can the Babe. You can talk about A League of Their Own is a fantastic baseball movie. Yeah. You can throw Cobb in there as well. I mean, it's more of a story than it is an actual baseball movie itself. But I mean, there's so many out there that they didn't even include. Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
They even have that on the top 5. That's the number 1 baseball movie all the time, Field of Dreams. I mean, I'm throwing that out there.
So the source is RottenTomatoes.com. They're pretty accurate on their stuff, but some of these I haven't heard.
Rotten Tomatoes is a bunch of garbage to begin with in the first place. Well, if they're ranking that by their standards, then there have been a lot of good movies out there that have been trashed by Rotten Tomatoes. So if they're doing it strictly off, their scores or whatever, I mean, it's
whatever. That's what they have. So I mean, again, I would switch it up a little bit.
Come on.
But yeah, come on, man. All right, our last one, because we got to get to air raid. For the same amount of money, would you rather be an athlete or a coach? So this one is an interesting last one. So Voldy, what would you do? For the same amount of money, would you rather be an athlete or a coach?
Oh, I'm being an athlete.
Oh, yeah.
Get a uniform. It doesn't say that you're a starter. It doesn't say you're the face of the franchise. You could be, the 9th player coming off the bench. You're still an athlete. You're on the team. You get to travel. You get to, you're on the team. You get a uniform and everything. You're there day to day. A whole lot less pressure when you're an athlete compared to when you're a coach. Things start going sideways, but they start blaming. They start blaming the coach. Maybe they start blaming the star player. Doesn't say that you're the best player on the team. Just says would you rather be an athlete or a coach. I'm taking an athlete every time.
And I don't blame you. I really don't blame you on that because I would do the same thing as an athlete. It makes more sense to get the money, be an athlete, but you have so much pressure. I mean, there's obviously pressure with being a player too, but not as much as a coach because a lot of that falls on you. And, especially from what, people want to just, fire guys at will. Well, I guess I should say Twitter people want to fire head coaches at will, things like that if things go bad. But at the same time, too, a lot of that falls on you. You still get the same amount of money, but you could be gone lickety-split. Not to say that you wouldn't be as an athlete, because you definitely would. But I feel like as an athlete, there wouldn't be as much, but the Kerf Doctor actually, I think he's mentioned before, if he were a backup punter or backup long snapper or whatever, I mean, you're still getting a good amount of cash if you're doing like NFL or something like that. So you're still getting, a good amount. But again, it might be short-lived because, again, who needs a backup punter? Who needs a backup? Well, it's not completely out of the question. But, again, it could be very beneficial. So, I'd rather be an athlete, and I think a lot of the zoners would too. Bullpen catcher. Mets says right here, bullpen catcher. That's not a bad idea, Mets. That's not a bad idea, my boy.
You're still on the team. You make the major league minimum, which I think is still at $500,000 or something like that. And you just catch a guy every little now and then. Maybe somebody's getting some bullpen work, maybe 20, 30 minutes out of a day or something like that. And, you still get paid regardless.
Someone has to be the water boy. And I was at one point too. I did football for 2 years. I did basketball. I think you get a good amount for that. Being a water or equipment manager or something like that. Voldy did it with SMSU baseball. So I mean, it's a fun gig. So, yeah, there's a lot of, options you can do in professional to get a job within an organization. Here's another interesting thing, too. If you're in the NBA and things like that, and you're just a role player, just a role player, you'd only go in for a couple. But, again, you're still making a good amount of money. So, I mean, I can't complain with that. I wouldn't complain with that either. All right, so moving on to our next, or our last fact here, okay? Now remember, this one was from 2012, okay? This is 2012 study by Forbes, okay? 7 million a year coaches. This is both NFL, NHL, et cetera, et cetera. 7 million a year coaches. Bill Belichick, that doesn't surprise you, Voldy. Mike Shanahan at the time, because he was with Washington. Doc Rivers, Doc might be getting it now with the 76ers.
Probably.
I'm gonna skip this one because this one's a surprise. And then Pete Carroll. So, the 4. Here's the 5th. You ready for this one? Ready for this one, zoners? Jeff Fisher. Jeff freaking Fisher.
Loser.
Was a 7. He was getting $7 million. I think that was when he was with the Rams, right? I think.
Sure.
And they paid him a crap ton of money. So
I think they were still in St. Louis in 2012. I can't remember. It's been too long
we'll
now.
We'll have to take a look
again.
Yeah,
I think it was. I think they were still in St. Louis because I think they moved 2016, 2015.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there, 2017. I don't know.
He got fired when he just got Jared Goff and Case Keenum was the backup. So, and then Case Keenum came to Minnesota after that. So that's an interesting.
He did. So it must have been 2017.
Yeah, I think it was. But anyway, that's going to do it for our tabletop. We had some really good ones. Again, these things are great. We thank Mama Callahan for these, and we're going to, get back to this at some point again. So that'll do it for table topics. But Voldy, we are not done yet because we have a lot of absurd or approved to get through because we got some good ones. The zoners want to hear them. We're going to give it to you. So let's get going with some absurd or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it's time for Absurd or Approved. We got a lot to get through, so Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, it started off with the Minnesota Vikings capping off 2020 season with a 7-9 record, finished third in the NFC North. Now we move on to 2021 and their season. The National Football League did announce the opponents, not the full schedule yet, but opponents that the Vikings will be facing in 2021. They will be taking on teams outside of their division, of course, be taking on the AFC North and the NFC West this year once again as well. Home opponents, besides the other three of Bears, Packers, Lions, home games will be against the Steelers, the Browns, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Cowboys. Now, road games this year, of course, Bears, Packers, Lions, the Bengals, the Ravens, the 49ers, the Cardinals, and the Panthers. Absurd or approved, will the Vikings have a better year and a better season based on their 2021 opponents?
Ooh, now this is an interesting schedule. And again, it's you obviously get your division opponents, the usuals, Chicago and Green Bay, Detroit and whatnot. The Steelers. That's gonna be a good one.
Yep.
The Browns. That's actually gonna be Kevin Stefanski coming back.
Yep.
The Rams. The Rams will be a good one. Their defense, and again, and guess what, Voldy? The Vikings play the Seahawks at home this year. It's about freaking time that this has happened. I am sick and tired of playing at Seattle, and this time.
Seriously.
It's got to be the time we beat these guys. It's too long. Then you get the Cowboys. That game I think you got to come back and beat. But then you get the Bengals. They're still figuring things out. Joe Burrow sounds like he'll be back, but, you don't want to look past them. The Ravens that'll be a tough one. If you're at Baltimore, that'll be a tough one. 49ers, I think they're going to get a little bit better. And the Cardinals, and then the Panthers. Who knows what the Panthers will be like. So I think it's got my stamp of approval. I think this is going to this will make or break what they're going to be next year. And if it breaks, Zim could be gone middle season. Zim could be gone after the season if it's not up to par. But into 2021, I said it last week, Zim's on the hot seat, but obviously not until either middle of the season, end of the season, depending on how things go. But it's still a tough schedule. And again, we haven't gotten to 2021. You're bringing back a very explosive offense with Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and there's going to be some decisions that have to be made. Now, another thing to bring up too is, what's going to happen to Rudy? What's going to happen? They're probably not going to re-sign Dan Bailey. Anthony Harris didn't have a great year, so he's probably not coming back. So they got to look into free agency. They got to look into the draft and start looking defense, because that can't happen again this upcoming season, because you have Barr back, you have Kendricks back, Harrison, but the rookies played pretty well. Gladney, Dantzler played all right. I think Mike Hughes didn't get his fifth-year option picked up, so I don't know if he's going to be back. But it's all going to come down to this offseason. They got to add guys. And, they have Michael Pierce coming back too. So the schedule, I think, it like I said, make or break. And I think that's with any team right now. But there's some games I'm looking at that I know that they can win with that offense. So it's got my stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you think?
I think the Vikings will finish 10-6 next year.
Ooh!
I'm throwing out a number. I'm just going to go out there and say it right now, and we can look back at this same time next year.
Where's my pen?
And put this down. The Vikings, write it down. 10-6 next year. Now, where those wins come from, it's going to be a combination of things. Obviously, the fact that a lot of question marks for the Cowboys. Is Dak Prescott going to be back? For the Steelers, they go all the way. Will Ben Roethlisberger be back? For the Bengals, is Joe Burrow going to be contributing?
Yeah.
Obviously, for the 49ers, is Jimmy Garoppolo and crew going to be fully healthy? You don't know what Carolina's going to bring back. You don't know what kind of team that Arizona is going to be bringing in, besides Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, what they'll look like defensively. Obviously, 10-6, there's probably going to be a few losses with the likes of Bears, Packers, Lions in there. Hopefully a complete sweep would be nice to come out with a division title. But obviously getting the Seahawks at home will help a little bit. Hopefully there's fans in the stands to help drum in a little bit of noise and cause a little bit of havoc. But
right.
I'm just going to go out and say they will have a better season, and I'm saying 10-6.
Book it. We're going to hold on to that recording. But, like you said, Voldy, I feel like I always say 10-6 every year, but obviously that changes by the minute. But, again, I think, there's a lot of things offensively. It looks great. Special teams. Malouf's gone. Get in somebody that knows what they're doing. Clearly, that was a mess. And again, it's like, well, it's some of the players he got. Well, no, it's special teams. You have to make sure that you have that down pat. We cannot have what happened last year come into 2021, because that will be a mess.
Special teams coordinator for next year, Marcus Sherrills.
Okay.
Writing it down.
Okay. Watch out for that. So I'd be fine with that. Claps all around. So we'll see what happens. Next one, Voldy.
Well, of course, this coming weekend is the opening for the NFL postseason. 6 wild card games this weekend, and it all starts on Saturday. 2 triple headers. Saturday we'll have Indianapolis at Buffalo, Los Angeles at Seattle, Tampa Bay at Washington. Then Sunday we'll have Baltimore at Tennessee, Chicago at New Orleans, and then Cleveland at Pittsburgh for the night game. Now, which team here this weekend is most likely to pull off an upset in the NFL wildcard playoff?
Ooh, no, that's interesting because I was looking at some of the NFL experts. I disagree with a lot of. There's one that says Rams over Seahawks, Rams +4 over Seahawks. I'd rather trust Russell Wilson other than John Wolford if he's playing for one. I mean, I just can't
we'll
see
see.
that. We'll see. I mean, I'm not saying it's completely out of the picture. Now. Voldy, you mentioned this one too. The Washington over the Buccaneers. You're not completely sold on they're just going to wipe the floor with them. But again, with the added motivation and things like that from Chase Young, and obviously Tom, I think, is going to look at that and say, "Oh, that's my motivation to kick y'all guys' butts." So there's that too. People are picking the Browns over the Steelers. I don't know, especially without your head coach and some of the other coaching staff as well with COVID. I think the one that I wouldn't be surprised about if the Chicago Bears go into New Orleans and they beat them, the Aints. And I wouldn't be surprised. I could see that being a potential upset. Am I going to pick that? No, because at the same time, I think Michael Thomas is coming back. I'm not 100% sure. But, again, this is a big game for Trubisky, and I still think he's a bust, even though he's been playing well. But that's just me. I just look at the Bears, and I feel like there's too much dysfunction. But I could see them going and beating the Aints, and I'd be fine with that. And honestly, I'd rather have the Bears win than the Aints because it's the Aints. But yeah, I'd probably go with that. I'd probably say Browns over the Aints, and it wouldn't surprise me. And I'm probably going to be wrong on it, but hey, that's kind of how it is. But some of the other games, I really don't see any big upsets. Buffalo against Indianapolis, that's going to be a good game. I think that's going to be a great game. So we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, I'd probably say I think Chicago could go in and beat New Orleans. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, we were talking about before the show even started, some people were talking about maybe Washington's got a little something going again against Tampa Bay. If it was Tampa Bay weeks 1 through 5, yeah, I think it would be a possible upset. But if it's Tampa Bay the last 2 weeks, it's been putting up, 40, 50 points, and, Tom Brady's throwing for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns, that's going to be a quick one in Washington. I look at one game that's hasn't been garnering a lot of attention. I think if there's one upset in here, I think it's Tennessee over Baltimore.
Okay.
I think that's the one that's going to draw the most attention in my mind. I don't know if it'd be as much of an upset as people would say just looking at the matchup, but Tennessee did kind of limp in a little bit towards the end of the season. Obviously, they pulled out that last second win against Houston this past week to close out the season as well. But, Baltimore's defense, you get a couple of guys going like A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, and crew for Tennessee. Of course, King Henry once again get the ground game going as well. It could be a long day for Baltimore, and it may be a shootout. We'll have to see. That's kind of what it has been for Tennessee the last couple of years in the playoffs, especially with Vrabel at the helm. But if it is going to be an upset, I would definitely take Tennessee over Baltimore.
And I could see it. I mean, I really could see it too. And Tennessee, again, this is going to be a fight. It's going to be a real knock 'em out, drag 'em out fight. And I think with the Ravens, and it's been kind of a little bit of a rivalry now with the Ravens and the Titans. So that'll be a good one. But yeah, I agree with you, Voldy. Check. I can't wait for some wild card football. Let's go. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, it was announced earlier this week that March Madness will be all in one big old bubble in the state of Indiana, with the entire men's basketball college tournament taking place in Indianapolis and the surrounding areas that will be starting, of course, in March and into April. All 68 teams will play for a chance to compete for a national championship in multiple venues in Indianapolis, with some games in Bloomington and West Lafayette, with the bulk of the teams staying in hotels in the Indiana Convention Center that will also be used as a practice facility as well for the 68 teams as well. Absurd or approved, March Madness taking place in Indy.
It's got my stamp of approval. I think they're looking at this logically, and they saw what the NBA did with the bubble and whatnot, and it was very successful. Now, they have to look at this, too, and kind of follow the same protocol. And I think they'll be able to do that, and especially with Rona going on, and if they're going to make this work, they have to have a strategy in place to make it happen. And I think they will. I really do. I mean, missing March Madness last year sucked. It sucked. Mm-hmm. And again, for good reason. Obviously, with, the pandemic, everything starting up like that, you don't want anyone to contract the virus. But it's just, I think it's the smart move. It's the smart move. They're going to be in Indiana. They're not going to have to worry about, if they go to New Mexico and then, Minneapolis, and then those teams end up playing in California, just giving examples. But I think this is the smart move. We all knew it was coming. We talked about this earlier a couple episodes ago, and it's the right thing to do at this time. They want to make sure March Madness happens, and I believe it's going to happen. So, yeah, it's got my stamp of approval. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I'm just surprised it took a global pandemic for something like this to happen.
Right.
Because obviously with all the other chances that, venues all across the country get to host a couple of games and then, you're off to another city. You play your one game, you win, you move on, you're in another city, and yet somehow they're all connected in one region. You're playing in Atlanta, but yet you're playing in the West bracket somehow. You're in New Mexico, but you're playing in the Midwest bracket somehow. It was all really confusing to me, and I never knew or understood what was going on until I actually looked at it and actually understood. I think this is great. It's got my stamp of approval. I'm just surprised it took this long because if you think about any other tournament, obviously it's all going to be coming from one place or, at least one little area. You talk about any state tournament or any national tournament,
right.
It's all emanating from one area. Sure, maybe a couple other small places here and there within close proximity and everybody's staying in that same town and or same area. I think this is a great opportunity for Indianapolis, and who knows, maybe if things kind of hold out the same way, I mean, maybe the NCAA makes this a regular thing and starts looking at places that host the Final Four or whatever. Maybe they host the entire kit and caboodle. It'd certainly be quite the boost in revenue for those places, but for now, it's got my stamp of approval.
Yeah, and I think you got to look at this from logic. I mean, with the pandemic and everything like that, it makes sense. Just have the right protocols in place. I mean, they're saying right here that they're going to have dedicated hotel floors. They have to abide by social distancing. Limited number of family members will be permitted to watch games. So I mean, that's good that they'll have some people watching the games and whatnot, because I think you can pull that off, social distancing, hand washing, and obviously wearing a mask. So I think it'll work out just fine, and the people need it. The people need some March Madness. So we'll keep our fingers crossed it all works out. Just don't pull
Let's hope so.
Dwayne Trashkins and not wear a mask and go to strip clubs and things like that. So all right, next one, Voldy.
Well, of course, this past Monday was the day after Week 17 of the NFL season, dubbed Black Monday for anybody that's been a head coach in the NFL ranks that may have been on the hot seat. Well, we know that 3 coaches no longer employed with said teams. Anthony Lynn for the Los Angeles Chargers, Adam Gase for the New York Jets, and Doug Marrone for the Jacksonville Jaguars as well. Looking at the body of the work of all 3 coaches, not only from this past season, but from their tenures in with said teams as well.
Right.
Is it absurd or approved, those coaches getting the hook?
There was one that I was not a fan of, and I think where I'm going with this. Anthony Lynn. Mm-hmm. And I disagreed with that because I believe that Anthony, and this was actually kind of controversial too. I mean, there was a lot. There were a couple. I think C. Moore was saying, well, if he knew how to, work with time management and things like that.
Right.
But again, that's why I think Zim has the same problem in a way too. But he signed a 1-year extension in the offseason, but the Chargers went 7-9. They lost 7 games by 1 score. Okay, so that kind of factors into it, but I just don't. I just would give it another year. You have a stellar quarterback in Justin Herbert. You have a really good offense. I mean, he is a defensive guru, right? I mean, Anthony Lynn's supposed to be. They didn't have the best defense, but I feel like in the offseason, I mean, they added Linval. Linval, I think, had a pretty good season. So
they competed.
Yeah, I mean, Joey Bosa, I mean, that's another one. I mean, there's some injuries that happened, but I didn't agree with that. And I think that it's just so dumb why. I mean, the reasoning from Spanos, their owner, is saying, this morning I informed Anthony Lynn that we made the decision to part ways with him as our head coach. I'm not sure there is another person in this league more respected as a human being than Anthony. I want to sincerely express my deepest gratitude for his leadership during a time of great change for our organization. Basically, what he's saying is he's just trying to cover his ass, and I think it's ludicrous, and I think you need to give the guy one more year to see what he can do. I mean, gosh, he led them to a winning season. They took on the Patriots in the postseason. I mean, I would have given him another year, and especially where he, worked with Justin Herbert and worked with all these players. So I mean, I think it's absurd that he's gone. Gase, that one was coming. I mean, let's be honest. Gase, absolutely, 100%. Doug Marrone saw that one coming too. I just don't think he's the best head coach either. But there's a lot of things that a lot of opinions that people have on that too. But Marrone, I think that one was coming. Gase, 100%. But Anthony Lynn, I think that's the only one I really have an issue with because I thought you should have given him one more year to actually prove what he can do. So, but yeah, I think it's absurd with that. But the other two, stamp of approval. I mean, the Jaguars were awful. The Jets were awful. Adam Gase should have been fired in the middle of the season, but that's just me. Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the only one that deserved maybe another chance at some point. I think he'll be a head coach again somewhere. Mm-hmm. Anthony Lynn, it was year 2 of a young team, obviously with a rookie quarterback taking charge after Tyrod Taylor got hurt. I mean, you wanted to see him prosper, and obviously Justin Herbert did prosper, making do with what he had offensively, and he had a really nice season in the running for offensive rookie of the year. To a fault that it's going to be won by Justin Jefferson. That's a whole nother thing we'll talk about as well. But I would have liked to see Anthony Lynn at least get one more shot. Obviously, missing the playoffs in 9 of the last 11 seasons doesn't help, but he wasn't that terrible of a coach. Some questionable decisions, but obviously all coaches make those questionable decisions that either lead to wins or you lead to losses. And unfortunately for Anthony Lynn, like we'd said, lost 7 games by at least 1 score. Not exactly very good for a coach to be losing as many games as close as that. But, I mean, obviously now in a new stadium with no fans, I mean, you need some sort of identity. Yeah. I mean, they've got it with Justin Herbert, but hopefully they can get at least a right-minded coach and at least maybe an offensive-minded coach to at least help contribute a little bit to help progress Justin Herbert's game a little bit more. I mean, with Doug Marrone, the writing was on the wall as soon as he started trading players left and right. You lose, you trade away, Jalen Ramsey. You start having fights with him on the sideline. Yeah. Jacksonville's never going to get things figured out as long as they're still in the league or they're still in America in the first place. Who knows? Maybe they'll move to England or something like that with their ownership. But, and also for Adam Gase, I mean, we all knew it was coming. It was just a matter of when. And as soon as they lost that number 1 overall pick, the writing was on the wall. And, there it is once again. Jets looking for a new head coach.
Yep. Bona fide offensive coordinator. That's all he is. And I think he wasn't a very good head coach. So that's just my opinion on Gase, but that's just me. All right, last one, Voldy.
Well, it looks like that the NHL and some outdoor games are going to be happening this year, and it looks like that the NHL, along with 4 teams, Vegas, Colorado, Boston, and Philadelphia, will each play games in a 2-day event hosted at the Edgewood Tahoe Resort in Lake Tahoe,
Wow.
coming up here this season as well. Of course, with the unfortunate factor that some outdoor games, the Winter Classic in Minneapolis, the outdoor games in Raleigh, North Carolina, and All-Star Weekend being canceled to accommodate the 56-game schedule and the temporary division alignment. It's looking like that it will be a possibility for outdoor games to take place. It's looking also the Avalanche to take on the Golden Knights February 20th and the Bruins to take on the Flyers on February 21st. Now, is it absurd or approved? The NHL making room for these games in Tahoe to take it outdoors once again.
Well, I guess I guess it's got my stamp of approval, but why couldn't you do it in Minnesota? I mean, is there not?
Yep.
I mean, isn't that an option? I mean, you took it away with the Winter Classic, but shoot, you could have done it in Minnesota. But no, they want to go to Lake Tahoe. Okay. But at the same time, too, you have some outdoor games, and I think that'll, help the revenue a little bit because I know people will watch it. I mean, the Vegas Golden Knights, yeah, they got a pretty good market. Avalanche, Boston Bruins, Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, it's not awful. It could be worse. They could be playing in just a random, state in like Seattle or something even though they got the new team. But I look at this, fans won't be allowed in attendance. Opening series will serve as a broadcast spectacle, engaging fans. So again, there's some good with that. But why not in Minnesota? You don't have to have fans. You don't have to have. I don't know what goes into it, but they took it away because the pandemic, understandably so. But I don't know. There's a way you can do it in Minnesota, but at the same time, too, I give them a stamp of approval actually having some outdoor games because, I think that's what the NHL needs right now, too. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I mean, obviously, we all would have loved to see it, especially myself, the Winter Classic happen in Minnesota. But unfortunately, that's just the way of Minnesota sports. You never get anything nice or anything that we want, except if we're playing the Lions Week 17 for a chance to finish 7-9 instead of 6-10. But again, that's a whole other story within itself. The teams themselves does make sense. Obviously, Vegas, the closest located team, playing against Colorado. Maybe they're trying to start some sort of rivalry or whatever. Yeah. Boston and Philly, they've played outdoor games before. So, that's a little bit of a dynamic that's brought up some good matchups over the years. I mean, it's got my stamp of approval. I'm just looking forward to an outdoor game. Just really wish it would have been at Target Field with the Wild taking on the St. Louis Blues this year, or maybe, who knows, maybe a couple years down the road it'll be the Wild in Winnipeg. I would love to see that happen because, both teams will show out with fans, and it'll get real nice and rowdy for those two games, for that game, because Winnipeg fans always travel to the XL Energy Center. It's always great to see that.
Yeah, it is. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they're letting 150 fans into the XL for the Wild coming up. Because the Wild play here next Wednesday. So we'll be...
Thursday.
Oh, is it Thursday? Oh, excuse me. But hey...
I think they're on the road to start off. Their season starts on the road.
Right. I believe
the 14th
is
the season opener.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So we're going to make sure we're going to be talking Wild on next Wednesday. So there's that. They're going to have 150 fans in there. We'll see how it goes. They'll all be spread out, social distance, mask, washing hands, all that fun stuff.
Yep.
But, yeah, I think why not Minnesota? That's my issue with it. But, again, it is what it is. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for Error A this week. We're all good to go with that. But it's time to get to some Shield shoutouts. There's another good batch of Shields. I mean, there's never a bad batch of Shield shoutouts. I think we all agree on that. But it's time to do some Shield shoutouts because, as the Kerf Doctor likes to say, why not?
Why not?
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Voldy, who are you shouting out tonight?
Well, we do have to send a Shield shout out. Of course, we were just talking about the NHL, Minnesota Wild. The Wild did announce this past week their second ever full-time captain in franchise history, out to Wild defenseman Jared Spurgeon, being named captain for the second time. Of course, he has sported an assistant captain A on his jersey over the years, but officially being named the team captain for the second ever full-time team captain in franchise history after the departure of Mikko Koivu as well. So a big Shield shout out to Jared Spurgeon. Also had to send a Shield shout out to Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson for breaking the Vikings and the NFL record for most receiving yards in a single season. He broke Randy Moss's single season record for the Vikings, then broke Anquan Bolden's record for most receiving yards by a rookie in the Super Bowl era as well, and probably leading his way all the way to the Offensive Rookie of the Year. It'll be a crime if he does not get that award as well.
Yep.
Do have to send a Shield shout-out to former Golden Gopher running back Rodney Smith, scoring his first NFL touchdown this past week in a game, in a loss, unfortunately, a blowout against the New Orleans Saints, but did notch his first touchdown in his career for the Carolina Panthers. So good to see that Rodney Smith getting a chance in the NFL and scoring his first NFL touchdown. We do have to send congratulations, a big Shield shout-out to the Cleveland Browns, led by former Vikings offensive coordinator Kevin Stefanski, backup quarterback, the man himself, Case Keenum, clinching a playoff spot for the first time since 2002 that the Cleveland Browns found themselves in the postseason, and they will be facing against the team that they beat this past week, that being the Pittsburgh Steelers. Of course, that was this past Sunday. They'll be playing the late game in the wild card round. So congratulations to the Browns. Let's see if they can take care of business, even though they'll be without Stefanski for this game. And finally, we do have to send a Shield shout-out to the U.S. men's under-20 junior national hockey team, Team USA, defeating Team Canada in the World Juniors Championship gold medal game last night. A 2-0 victory over Canada, now making it 4-0 against Canada for the gold medal in the World Junior Championships. Always great to see the boys from the U.S. beat up those Canadians. Suck it, Canada. And that's going to do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
And that's the way you end Shield shoutouts, just throwing shots at Canada. That's how you end Shield shoutouts. But again, yes, I was overjoyed to see that the U.S. men's getting that win over Canada, 2-0, and that's a dreaded 2-goal lead with 2-0. That's a tough lead to hold on to in hockey. That we know.
I wasn't a fan of the 8:30 start time because they were playing in Edmonton. I was passed out by 8 o'clock, so it's a miracle that I'm still awake right now. But hey, great win as well, keeping up that winning streak, and America wins once again. So
can't go wrong with that. But
nope. Yeah,
it's a bummer about Stefanski. I mean, gosh, you make the playoffs, and then all of a sudden you're not able to go, coach because of COVID and whatnot. So just the Browns' luck as well. But what can you do, right? Anyway, to wrap things up, yes, Q&A Thursdays. We will be getting back to that. Again, it was a lot going on with the holidays and everything. But we will get that set up. Head over to the Instagrams. We'll get just set up. You ask the questions. We answer them. It's simple. Very simple. Oh, by the way, I don't know if people saw, but we're selling sweatshirts, by the way.
Yeah, we are.
$40, $5 shipping. If you saw the video, it looks great. Great job to the Kerf Doctor for doing that. And obviously, the logo, we got to thank Kelsey Kerfman for giving us this fantastic logo. Logo and another logo and another logo. Alternate logos. Fantastic job. Thank you, Kelsey, for doing that for us. And if you want a sweatshirt, if you want a shirt, you talk to Jimbo. He gets you set up on Venmo, the PayPal. You can talk to me. You can talk to Voldy. You can talk to the Kerf Doctor. We will get you set up. Just ask for it. We'll get it to you. It's a fantastic sweatshirt, guys. You won't regret it. All right. W2 Performance, the Barbell Nerds. they have a new podcast out. Will Rattel has gotten hitched. Congratulations to him. And again, I think I'm putting this on right around here. Okay, we're putting this
there
on.
You go.
The water bottle. It is about time, Voldy. I agree. We'll get it on there. We'll make sure that we're repping W2 Performance. We love the Barbell Nerds. Check out their podcasts and content as well for W2 Performance. And thank you to Crown Rental and Tyler Knutson for these awesome bumper stickers, and mini bumper stickers as well. Shout out to Trev, our intern guy. Window decals as well. Voldy's showing them. Intern guy got his bumper sticker, by the way. He got his bumper sticker.
Good.
He's all ready to go.
I was worried. Said no one ever.
Yeah, worried. Said no one ever. So there's that. And then make sure you check out Jack's Junkyard. I believe he's he's going to be coming back here soon. So I can't wait to see
just posted like a season 1 recap this past week. So there we go.
Here we go. And then also, one last thing, too. Make sure you check out Jack's Junkyard. Jack O'Keefe, his show, coming back up. But we're having our 1-year anniversary soon, Voldy. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, boy.
It's coming up.
Boy.
It's coming up. So we're going to have all these polls like for best guest. And we're going to have Will Rattel on there. We're going to have Mikey on there. We're going to have Double Trouble on there. There's so many people. Who's going to win best guest? Who's going to win, top 5 zoners? No, that's going to be an interesting one too. So
Yikes.
keep checking out MinneZona Sports Live. We got a whole slew of things that we're going to get through. So, but anyway, great job tonight, Voldy. I know there's been a lot of it's been a crazy day today, but we wanted to give the zoners an escape from everything that's been going on with the protests and everything at the Capitol.
Yep.
We wanted to give you MinneZona Sports Live, and we bring it to you. Hopefully, you guys are in a better place now with us. And the thing is, we're going to be back next week. We're going to have more fun. And again, it's just going to be great. And we're approaching our 1-year anniversary. I can't believe it, man. It's crazy. Holy cow. So anyway, as always, folks, keep it in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.